2 weekends. We good?
It's a new topic.
Yeah, new topic. Last week it was over, right?
Yeah, it was over. The Tao.
Tao saying is over.
We finished Tao. Now we're going to talk about Patanjali. It's all still related to the spirituality, and the path we have taken is the Anitya Bhavana and Asharan Bhavana and all that. So it's still related to each other, so I don't mind putting extra things in between. So Asharan Bhavana basically talks about our tendency to keep going back to the material things, people and object, to rely on all these things, not only for our pleasure, but our sustenance and our permanent dependence of life, basically. So we think that that's all there is and nothing else. And when we do that, we're missing the opportunity to know ourselves, because ourselves is your self-being, your consciousness. So our hard and fast belief in a rock solid belief into the material things is making us suffer. Because whenever we have it, we are happy. When we don't have it, we are not happy. But Jin Chandra Maharaj is saying that, think, is it something you can fall back on? All these things, you think that these are rock solid, basis for my life. Is this something you can rely on when something happens? Good morning. When the problems happen in your life, are these the objects or the people can save you from trouble? So eventually he wants us to be leading to the realization of yourself, your Atma. So that is something is always going to be there. So Asharan Bhavana is talking about that basically. So I came across Patanjali's one of the sloks, and it again talks about the same thing. What happens is all these objects or the people or the situation we are relying on, and the questioning why are we relying on. And it's not that we are having such a great, wonderful life, all of us. None of us are in ecstasy all the time. None of us are really permanently, perpetually happy, smiling, joyous all the time.
Not true.
So,
unless you're an ecstasy.
Inside his house, but outside is so miserable. So, the truth is, the life is chain of miseries for a lot of people. There is some suffering continuously happening. You may have some pleasure in one aspect, but then 1,500 other ones, you're still suffering. So net effect is still in a negative side. So the life seems to be the endless chain of miseries. We go from birth to death, like basically miseries. In between we may have some sparks of lightenings of pleasure here and there, lasting for short time, and then you're back to the dark clouds of life again. But despite all these things, we all want to live. We want to live forever. Nobody wants to die. Why? Why are we really wanting to live forever, despite the fact that life is
it's
not
a hope
really...
that you will change.
Agreed. So that's the hope. So we're clinging to the life with a hope that something better will come. Yes, we are suffering right now. We have a lot of problems right now. We have a lot of stress right now, but something will come along. So hope is something that's keeping us alive. So it's not that we are happy, we are actually miserable, but we want to go on. Hope for tomorrow is the only thing that dilutes these miseries. So whatever miseries and suffering we have, it kind of gets diluted. It kind of gets shoved under the rug. Okay, it's there right now, but something will happen. So hope is a compensation for the miseries of our life. So like we talked about in Tao, you want to win. The fact that you want to win, you have decided that you have lost. And that's why you want to win. If you were not lost, why would you want to win anyway? Right? If you thought that you are a winner, why would you make any efforts to win again? Or win more, whatever. So the basic philosophy and basic psychology of the mind tells you that whenever you have any negativities in your mind, you try to compensate. So the hope is a compensation for a miserable state of mind. The more miseries you have, the more hopes you will have. And more happy you are, the less hopes you will need, because you are happy as it is. So we are compensating for the deficiencies, and we think that life will be able to provide something. Now, if I want something, I want X amount of dollars, I don't have it. I may not be able to get it from you. When I want it, if I could, then I wouldn't have any problem. But I can't. So I'm banking on the future. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make these projects so that I'm going to get X amount of dollars that I need in the future. So I have a hope for X amount of dollars because that's what I don't have right now. Right? So I'm asking something from life. So life has to give me something to compensate for what I don't have. So I'm starting out with a miserable state of mind, and then I'm putting demands on the life. So I'm clinging to the life. Life means still the same people, same patients, same other people around this. The life situations will have to change, and change it in my favor so that good things can happen to me. Right? So sometimes the life becomes so miserable that people are ready to commit suicide. Right? The thing is that even the people who are trying to commit suicide, they have a hope that something better will happen. So they are ready.
Next incarnation.
They do.
Next incarnation or something.
No, they do actually. When they lose hope, that's when they commit suicide.
Right, they lose hope because right now, say, if I am miserable, I'm hoping the life will give me something. But when they lose all the hopes
Right.
and they realize that life has nothing to offer to me, that's when they want to die.
Yeah,
But even then, deep buried inside, they have a hope that something better will come along and all these miseries will
Like in
end.
Swarg and
Right?
something. The other life will be better.
If they believe in other life.
Well, at that point, they don't have a choice but to believe it because the life that they know has not been able to give them anything.
Right.
So, in a way, the state of mind where you're ready to commit suicide and going into samadhi are not much different. Because in samadhi, people trying to go on a spiritual path have also realized that this material life has not been able to give us what they want. They're seeking for something higher. It goes in a positive direction. The one who is coming to suicide is going in the other direction. So that's why a lot of times Eckhart Tolle, right? The power of now. He was on the verge of committing suicide. His miseries were so intense that he had a transformation in a matter of seconds. He became enlightened in a matter of seconds.
All right.
And he became a spiritual leader. He was never into spirituality before. But something happened, something
Yeah,
clicked.
he said, I cannot live with myself.
Right.
And then he said, I cannot live with myself. So I and myself
Are
are
separate.
two.
Have to
That's
separate.
when he had the realization.
That I am different than what I see.
Yeah, I and myself are two
Two
different
separate
entities.
right.
And that's when he just collapsed.
Right.
And next morning when he woke up, he had
Everything
the
was different.
realization.
Those are rare things. It had happened even in scriptures that they have had events where people got enlightened in matter of seconds. But usually it takes efforts on the path of spirituality. So there was a Greek philosopher. He believed in suicide so much because he believed that the life is full of miseries and it should really end. So he actually preached suicide
Really?
to everyone. Yes, there was. We all should die. Now he lived to be 90 though.
Yeah, Japan. There are so many cults in Japan like that.
There was a problem though. This Greek philosopher lived to be 90. So when he was dying, they asked him, he says, how come you preached suicide all your life and you never committed one? So he said, I had to be around to teach people.
कि कुत्ता मेरा है लड़का तेरा था. You know that, no? Swamiji?
Yes.
I'll tell in my class.
So, clinging to the life is very deep. We all cling to life. Whatever we don't have, we accept it, but we hope that life somehow will generate it for us. So that's called clinging to the life. So that's what Jain Chandra Maharaj is saying, that Asharan Bhavna, if you have that, you will not be clinging to life. Life meaning all the people, all the objects, all the situations around us, and somehow the permutation, combination of all that will generate something that will make me happy. Whatever it takes, whether it's a people or objects or situations, or any combination of all that, right? So, the clinging to the life is very deep, and it goes down has gone over for thousands of lives that we have lived through. And that's why we're still here. If we did not have desire to live, we would not have lived. Life always, the consciousness always offers you what you want. So Patanjali calls it abhinisha. Abhinisha is a beautiful word. It's a clinging to life, desire for life. So, so we live with a hope. Now where does the hope come from? The hope comes from miseries. Like we said, it's a compensatory mechanism for the miseries of our life. Now, we have to realize that miseries is not necessarily miseries. Miseries is a perception at your mind level.
Oh, okay.
It may not be necessarily a misery, right?
Yeah.
Like the jet.
Right. It all depends upon the perception.
When you accept the correct,
You may
don't
have
accept correct
Right.
situation.
Mahavir says that $10,000.
Yeah.
Mahavir didn't say that, but he said that. He says, if you don't want to be rich, you will never poor. If you have $10,000, you want $12,000, you're poor.
Right.
You want only $8,000, you're $2,000 rich.
It's a
Same
perception.
$10,000 is a perception. So the misery that you have in your mind is a perception of your own mind. Has nothing to do with outside situation. And I'll come to that later. So the more miserable you are, the more hopes you will have, and more clinging you will have to do to the life, because now you have so many hopes to fulfill, and if you need a longer life, right? So you keep on adding more and more to the list of the things that you want out of life. So the other way around, the more happy you are, the more hopeless you are, because you don't have any hopes. So you're more happy, you're the other way around, you're more happy, so you don't need anything out of life. You're happy with whatever you are, or wherever you are. Including all these imaginations of heavens, and the Madira flowing in Swarg, Jannat, and all these things are imaginations. They are the greatest imaginations given by so-called religions that, okay, don't drink here, you will have rivers and rivers of Madira.
Right.
Don't do this over there, you will have apsaras.
Right.
And these are all
Not
hopes.
smart. Don't drink here.
Drink there.
Drink there.
So the imaginations of the heavens are also created by miserable people. So because hopes is all about future, and the future nobody knows, and by creating that you want something out of that future is a foolishness, right? So tomorrow never comes, because when the tomorrow becomes today, your todays are no good anyway. So, with all this experience of 57 years, you still don't learn that todays were never good, but the tomorrow becomes today.
Right.
What are the chances that that tomorrow is going to bring you happiness, and compared to today's today? It's no different, because it was always going to be stay as today. So tomorrow never really comes. It's just an illusion created by the mind. Because in this illusion, the mind exists. First of all, mind, and it's so funny, mind makes you miserable in a present situation, and then gives you a hope for tomorrow, makes you work like a dog, and then makes you miserable again.
Right.
So it's a trick of the mind, and yet we fall for it. We never come out of it. As if that's the only thing, that's the real thing.
There's a gyan.
What's that?
There's a gyan.
Again, of course.
Okay.
And that's what Patanjali says.
Yeah.
So you're jumping ahead of me. But mind gives you a consolation that the today is hell, but the heaven is coming tomorrow.
It's a dangerous disciple, you know. This guy is. You don't want those people in audience.
And that's how the life goes on. For you, for me, and for millions of other people. And that's a usual thing. That's how everybody lives. That they want something out of tomorrow, and then just perpetual life goes on. This chakra of sansar goes on. That's the mechanism, how the whole juggernaut of sansar keeps on working. Out of not feeling well today, not being happy with what you have today, wanting something for tomorrow. So the mechanism has to set into action. So the action takes place, and that's how the business of the sansar goes on. Meanwhile, the peace goes away, and then life is chipping away. Every day, every moment, we're losing life one chip at a time. And then before you know, the life comes to an end, and we realize that we have to start all over again, and the same cycle just goes on. So we are living, basically, we keep the hopes and the dreams, which are total illusion. It doesn't exist, but we create that illusion. The purpose is only to dilute the miseries of today. Miseries are there, we all know that, the stresses are there, and everything is there. So, whether these hopes or dreams get fulfilled or not, but at least it does one job. It dilutes your miseries. It keeps you going. Gives you a temporary illusion of happiness. And that's all it does. It's an illusion, right? So, thinking of tomorrow makes you feel a little better, and it helps you go through the life, basically. It's just going through the life. There is no fun or joy or nothing like that. It just lets you tolerate the miseries of life, the stress of everybody. I mean, I have patients, they come in a lot of times and says, I say, what's happening? They're stressful and this and that and panic attacks. And he says, well, I said, why? What's the problem? He said, well, a lot of stress. I said, why? He says, why? Why not? Everybody has stress, I said, nowadays everybody has stress, so you'll accept as if it's a normal thing. And it doesn't have to be that way. And I said, well, I don't have stress. So they look at me and say, what's wrong with you? Something wrong with you. So when you don't have stress, you are abnormal. So the thing is that the beggars, when we want something out of life, we are beggars. So beggars cannot give up because they have not a whole lot to give up. Because again, it's all conceptual. We are beggars because we want something out of life. Only Mahavirs and Buddhas can give up because they have seen everything materially. And not only they have seen everything materially, and a lot of us have seen materially, but we are not happy with whatever we have. So we are still beggars anyway. So that's why we have never renounced anything. They could renounce because whatever they had seen the futility of all that.
And they accepted whatever they had.
Right. So first they had all the luxuries of life that they could think of, right? But even then they saw the futility of getting any more pleasure out of that. So they reached to a limit. And when they reached to a limit, they could renounce. But the beggars can never renounce because they have all the plans. They want to change, they want to be ready for tomorrow because tomorrow is coming. Tomorrow is going to be here any minute. Tomorrow, chappar faar ke khuda dene wala hai. Something is going to happen. So they have to be ready. So they are preparing everything for today. So they are not living today and they are living in tomorrow. But they are busy continuously. And a lot of times you see these beggars, they have no arms, no legs, they have leprosy, and sometimes you feel, why are these people living still? But they have hopes. They always have hopes, because hopes keep them alive and keep going, right? So, the poverty, like I said, you can be poor mentally or physically.
Or both.
Or both. Or it could be other way. It could be physically poor but mentally rich. But poor people are one or the other. So that's why you need to have at least well-settled life so that you can think of religion and talk about all these things. For somebody who is hungry, you cannot talk to him about all these things, these philosophies of life and this and that. So that's why countries like US, they have more chances of turning into religion than other pure countries or third world countries, right? So, but even here, things are not there. But at least you have a little chance. I mean, look at Whitney Houston dying at 48. I mean, it's just a shame, right? With all this rich, culture they have,
But it's so funny that she was poor.
Right.
So she
had
she's
seen
both sides.
Exactly. And
she still
didn't learn.
She didn't.
And she had a 17-year-old daughter. I think she is into drug rehab and all that. So that's why I say suicide, once you come to the point that you just cannot think of anything that can come out of this life anymore, and you feel that there is no hope, that's when you feel like committing suicide. But at the same time, the state of being ready to be committing suicide and samadhi are more or less parallel. But except that one wants to go in a negative direction, one wants to go in a positive direction and do something about it. So they want to rise above the materiality, right?
You can go either way. Probability is 50-50%.
Right.
At that juncture.
Sure. And the life, when I say clinging to the life, is not just the physical life that we see, but clinging to the whole sansar, the total sin of life, all the transactions, all the people, the object, the situations, everything, right? So when the transformation has to take place, so either you prepare your mind and logically argue it out, and then you're ready to take the path of spirituality, or you keep on living this life, and then you reach to the point that at some point you realize that the life has been so miserable. I'm ready to